and there has always been some level of international interest, and that trend is continuing. And and there are people certainly in countries overseas who want to see this available closer to home, because the problems, the logistical problems of cryopreservation overseas, if cryoprotective perfusion is to be done in the United States, are tremendous. So I hope that eventually there can be cryoprotection and ultimately long-term storage facilities overseas.
Yeah, that sure would be helpful. I know I've come across many people who come to the Institute and they ask about, many times a new member, one of the first questions they have is, I live in such and such country. Is there any way I can sign up for cryonics, or is there any, local cryonics organization? So I do see that question once in a while. And it kind of, one of the final questions I have anyway, kind of leads into it from the social acceptance discussion that we've been having here. There are also legal issues with regards to cryonic suspension. And have you seen any, I know it's not your expertise, but you do work, you're on the board of LCOR. Have you seen any helpful legal precedents set recently for people who hope to be cryopreserved?
Well, I think that LCOR's successful recovery from some of the political regulatory problems that it had in Arizona back in 2004 speaks well for the future. That LCOR has gone from being an organization that was targeted for regulation largely because of bad publicity surrounding the Ted Williams case, to a more respected entity in that state by policymakers, and I hope that that trend can continue. In terms of law or laws passed or case law, I'm not aware of any recent developments, but cryonics just continues to operate under the auspices of the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act in all 50 states.
Yeah, I guess, that is a fairly good way to operate at this point. It seems a lot of it revolves around the legal definition of death. Some of these issues with, people need to be autopsied, does a coroner need to be present, and all of, and what role does the doctor play, and when someone can be started with, cryo protectant, cooling and whatnot. And I guess I haven't seen too much movement in those legal issues revolving around death. But when I have discussion with chronicists, basically they say, or the general theory is that what most people don't understand is that there is information theoretic death that we talk about that would be kind of the ultimate end of a person or a consciousness. And it seems that we're a long ways away from that. Would you say, where the legal system kind of adopts a information theoretic death as the standard? Oh yeah,
I would say decades away.
Decades.
Yeah, that's not a near-term prospect at all, I think, to have that identified as a legal criterion, unfortunately.
Okay, last question, since one audience member did ask about, we had a little discussion from some members from Europe, and they wanted to know what was the best personal strategy if you do live in Europe, say the continent, for being prepared for if you would eventually need cryonic preservation.
Well, there's a new webpage that was just added to the LCOR website, accessible via the main menu on the left, called International Info, where we've begun to try to address these questions, and we're going to add more to that page later this year. And basically what we recommend is that the first thing that people should do is contact local morticians or regulatory authorities to determine the regulations and mechanisms for having themselves shipped out of the country if they are declared legally deceased, because that's a key question you've got to have. It's very reliant on local mortuaries in terms of physical handling and processing of paperwork and how expeditiously that can be done. And the other thing we recommend is trying to network with other people in your country or your locality who are also interested in cryonics to form local groups which can provide various forms of mutual assistance if one of the groups needs cryonic services. And ultimately the local group can acquire equipment, medications, and expertise to do stabilizations and the first phases of the cryonics procedure. And in the real long term, the ideal would be to develop capabilities for local cryoprotective perfusion, but that's very difficult and requires a lot of expertise. So we don't have unfortunately, we don't have a turnkey system or protocol yet by which we can help a local group set up for cryoprotective perfusion, but that would be a good strategy to work towards in the long term.
All right, well, a lot of great information tonight on the field of cryonics, the science, the social aspect of it. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Wowk, for coming to the show tonight and providing your insight, and also as well for being such a valuable advisor to the Immortality Institute.
Well, thank you for having me.
And with that, I will bid you good night.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Whoops, there we go. You heard the Skype call come to an end. Great job there by Dr. Wowk, talking about a lot of the issues revolving around cryonics. And I hope I got to most people's questions. And, you know, I wanted to mention to Bart that we did cover a little bit of what you had asked a little bit earlier in the broadcast. I don't know if you were here the entire time. So sorry that I couldn't get to your question in the forum, but perhaps Dr. Wowk, you know, he does come by the site once in a while, probably once a week or more. He can answer your questions there. And I want to thank everyone else who's in the audience here for asking the questions and keeping the discussion going. Yeah, a couple other things that I want to discuss tonight, again, like I mentioned early in the program, and that is a research grant that the Institute is involved in right now. That is laser ablation of lipofuscin. Many of you have heard about this already. Maybe some of you haven't. We are raising some money for this research, which will be conducted by the SENS Foundation Research Lab down in Arizona, John Schloendorn's lab, and it will be performed by Nason Schooler, who we had on the program last month. Yeah, I hope you, maybe you weren't available for that interview, but you can check it out here at the Ustream channel. But yeah, Nason Schooler will be studying how to remove lipofuscin from cells, because it is a type of junk that builds up within our body throughout our lives as we age, and he's going to use lasers to try and selectively destroy lipofuscin from within the cells. And we are providing, the Institute is providing a $8,000 matching grant. We're trying to raise $8,000. We will match every dollar. So if we are successful in raising $8,000 for this research project, the end of the funding drive is August 17th. We will match that $8,000, and SENS Foundation will get $16,000 to conduct this research, something that we've always wanted to do. Last year we started providing scholarships for young researchers in the field, you know, the bioscience fields, anti-aging research, things like that. And now this year we are starting to provide research grants, and it's something that we continue to hope to do in the future. Another thing I want to mention, if you didn't follow the development of this research grant, it was discussed in a new forum at the Institute, and it's something that has been getting more active all the time. People have ideas, let me tell you. I know. That's one thing people have a lot of, ideas. And what we want to do here with the Action Forum is to put a lot more of those ideas into action. And as you can see, there's a couple of subforums there: suggestions and project ideas, and then projects and teams. So if you have an idea, go there, a project idea or a forum suggestion, put it in the Action Forum. We have meetings every other week to evaluate all of the ideas and see which ones are the best, have the best chance of success, and what ones perhaps need some funding. And then when we officially adopt a project, it goes into the project area, and if we have a team that's dedicated to that, we also